morning here. It was super early. I woke up at 4:15 a.m. Blame it on my wife. But I did take this short, so and I'll explain it, right? So you guys can see why the short here. Did anyone pay attention why I shorted here? Does anyone know why I went short here?
Failed to reclaim the halfback from yesterday.
So that was one of them. But at the level right here at 76, they did have a HVN at that time, and maybe I can try to rebuild it, but it was something like this. I'm trying to get this guy to update here. So there was this HVN, and I'll maybe modify it so you can see it. Let's put like 133 here. Okay, there it goes. A little bit better, right? So if you look here, I was targeting that, that they're gonna come into this area because they obviously, when you look at this chart right here, they accumulated here, sold off, right? They came back, and then they were not able to kind of get back in, right? Once they lost this, and you guys remember what 87 was?
The POC on the rundown?
That's correct. So it was a major POC, right? And I said if we lose this, it's not good. It could be a distribution happening, right? And then when they gave me this overnight, I was like, man, I gotta load up. And then I took 2 ES, right? And I drove that, right? The first target was that we go towards the single prints, and then the rest, if you can drive it all the way to the 12, that was great. And then ultimately, once we lost this, they came back for a retest on the bottom. Let me hide this so it's not confusing. They came back to the retest to the bottom, and then the Friday spike was the ultimate target. And I posted these guys for you. As we lost each one of these levels, I said what's coming. And if you're trading futures, you really don't have a decay on you. So you want to grab, especially on the key levels, let's say once this cracked, if you're thinking about this, even if you took this and put the stop loss here and targeted this is a pretty good trade. Let's say you took it here, this is your risk. That's, you don't even have to look at it. It's more than 3-to-1 trade that you're targeting. And then you can see today, this would be, it's a major trend day, right? So you're obviously rejecting some values here, right? And let's take a look where we are. Let's change this guy to about 13. Here, that works. So what happened today, right? You had a little bit of a gap down, right? And then we'll hide the candle so you guys can see it. What kind of profile did you guys have for today?
Triple distribution?
Definitely triple distribution. And thing that you would look for in terms of so here's the profile in question. And does everybody understand how we got the triple distribution? Does everybody understand what that means?
I think so.
Is there anyone that's like, man, what are you talking about?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
All right, good.
Is it because we had initiative selling, so we flew through?
No. I mean, that could be the reason, but what that means is that you have acceptance. They're trying to build value here, and below the single prints, right? We talked about these single prints. I left them on for a while. You guys remember our last session when we discussed this? We said if you lose this, you're most likely going to fill back, go to the 12. They really don't want to lose the 12. If you do lose it, right? We had that CPOC, if you guys recall. Remember, we had two like CPOCs that were kind of in between. We didn't know which one really to mark because in a different time frame, they're pretty high nodes. So this was a pretty big node here, as you guys see. So this is one distribution because it has more than three TPOs or three TPOs there, right? So if I zoom in a little bit, so you have ABC periods there, right? And then let me give you a better visual. What does C period do?
That's the IB.
Lower low.
Yep. So And if you guys remember from the class, you know, you have the IB, and typically, man, what do I say about the IB being broken with the C period? What does it typically mean?
It could be the start of a trend day.
There's a high chance you're gonna have a trend day, right? So now, where are your single prints here? Can everybody visualize and understand where the single prints are and what that means? Between this distribution here that I circled and between this distribution here, where are the single prints here? Okay, so let me
CA
give you,
20 down to
so you would have them at the bottom of A, and the reason why you would have it here is because in this C period, you don't have any other period right next to it. So that means the C is single, right? And then that goes to the bottom of this one. So these are your single prints, right? Does everybody understand that? I'm repeating because we have some new people, and I just want to make sure you guys are on the same page, right? So you have the single prints here, and that separates this distribution from this distribution, correct? Then this distribution here is separated where?
The line right below that.
So it would be
M
right here.
period. Yeah.
You would have this one, and then you would have the K period, right, at the high.
H.
So this would be your single prints right here. Do you guys agree?
Yep.
Yep.
And now, if you're not, let's say you're like, oh man, I'm so lost. So remember, each letter is how long? How long is that?
30 minutes.
30 minutes. So if I was to turn on the candles, now you can see how the single prints look, right? So if I go to the top, you will always see an imbalance, right? Single prints means that we had an imbalance. We had a lot of emotional selling. They came back and they sold, and they are not able to recoup that imbalanced candle. Because remember, we're trying to build value, and they came in and they basically said, no, we got to sell, sell, sell. So imbalance, you know, a lot of people selling at bid drives the price lower. And then you have this distribution that's set up here with these single prints. And now you know that this 45 was what level here? Well, I guess I'll show it to you. So that was the Friday spike. Do you guys remember that? Like right here. Does everybody understand what the spike means? Don't be afraid if you don't. So the Friday spike, why did I leave it there?
Because there's a gap up afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, it was never tested, right? It was an untested spike, therefore we carry it forward. And today, where did we bounce? Well, we bounced right off the spike. I mean, came very close, maybe even tapped it perfectly, right? Maybe a few, yeah, a quarter, right? It was a good bounce off of it. So now you have a triple distribution. You have 1, 2, and then you have a distribution on the bottom. So does everybody understand distributions and how they're divided? Single prints divided them.
Can spikes be carried over for weeks and then get tested?
Yeah. Of course. I mean, this spike was here from Friday, so it's a 1 week pretty much right now. If you go from a spike and you go like 4 or 5 weeks on, I don't know if I would carry it forward that much. It will play a role potentially just like it did here, where they try to defend it and accept the price higher from this point, because now they filled the gap, right? But this Friday, if you guys remember, you know, when they had the October value area low, I mean, this was pretty insane move, right? I mean, this was pretty wild. And now we're going to test them, right? So now if you think about this, if you're a bull, what do you want to see from the bulls?
$67, $66.
Okay, if you reclaim that, that's good, right? It's a major CPOX on a longer picture. Let me give you guys a visual. So what she's saying is if you guys expand this a little bit, let's put like maybe 77. 47. Make this a tad bit darker. Okay. So if you look at it now, right, do you see what we're defending? Like where they bounced?
October value low.
Well, they bounced today. Where did they bounce? It was Friday's spike, but when you add volume profile, where did they bounce?
Protecting that LVN.
They're protecting this LVN because if, let's say, tomorrow you lose this because you also happen to have a poor low, the odds are that you're going to be at this 19 and then ultimately at this 711 and a quarter. Somehow we always have 711 lately. I don't know why, but odds are we're going to be at 711 pretty quickly if we were to lose this 45. Okay. But if you're a bull and you want to show interest in higher prices, what do you want to reject?
The spike first, and then the single print.
A spike
The
on
spike
the
base.
bottom?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Was there a spike?
No, the Friday spike. I mean, you don't want to
Okay.
trade inside of it.
Yeah, you don't want to go inside of it. So you want to reject the lower prices, but you also want to reject out of this distribution, right?
Yeah, so that's single print up there.
Yeah, so you want to do, if you're a bull, ideally, if you can open and hold this, then you could ultimately target something like this, right? That's one scenario. And then you're like, well, how do I play it, right? Well, if you go up here, and let's say, I don't know what the price action will be, let's say we open up here, and then you come back for a retest, that's not a bad long, right? To try it, because that means you're accepting this one, you're rejecting the bottom one. So that's not bad. But if you open here and you're retesting the bottom here, not a bad short because you're in the bottom, you closed in the bottom distribution, right? If they are really, trying to push it up, they should have reclaimed this one and closed somewhere in the middle. And it happens that you also have an LVN, on a couple of days here, right? So you have a nice LVN set up here that you could definitely use to your advantage, right? So this is a bullish scenario. You want to see if they can execute this piece right here. If
Can you
we, Mhm.
can you explain what you mean by using those LVNs to your advantage?
Well, if you're revisiting an LVN from the bottom, right? In this case here, let's say you're revisiting here, right? And you're not able to. I'm just picking the smallest piece of it. Let's say you go here, right? And you get a rejection and you lose these single prints. What would that tell you?
They're gonna explore the volume in the bottom node.
If this LVN means what?
Separation
there
of
The
a-
value.
buyers up there.
Separation of value, there was not a lot of interest to do what?
Trade.
Trade there, right? So if there's not a lot of interest there and you're not able to crack above it, what is the price action telling you then?
That you want to go back lower?
Well, you want to go back lower. So you can use this, right? If they reject this and they lose the single prints, that's a pretty good short. But relative to where you open tomorrow, right? Let's say we open below the CPOC of 66. I have no idea where we are right now. We open below that, right? And you have a poor low. There's a potential that, let's say they go to single prints here. I would attempt this short, and what would you target? So let's say you open here and they do something like this. It's not a bad target right
Or
here.
low.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about, again, 30, 40 points. So that's not a bad setup, right? Where you can play this and hide somewhere up here behind it. But, there's probably high odds that we're going to fix this tomorrow. So that's your daily analysis, right? And then if you get really, let's say, I don't know, news tomorrow, right? Yeah, something tomorrow. So PPI, today we had the CPI. Let's see. So PPI tomorrow at 8:30. So
I don't think they're releasing that.
they're not releasing PPI tomorrow? Is it
No.
because of the federal statistics system? Is that
Correct. Yeah.
so? Okay, I thought that was a joke, but okay. Okay, well, maybe they won't release it, right? Something's off, right? If they're not releasing these, I don't even know what to say. I mean, I don't know how federal statistics system is broken. I have no idea. We won't go into that, but let's see where we open. You have 3 distributions. If you're rejecting the bottom one target all the way to the top, some miracle happens that we crack this tomorrow, then you know you have some opportunity to target probably to this HVN somewhere in here, 36 or so. I'm leaning more bearish tomorrow just because where we were, right? We rejected this area again. If you guys remember, this 12 here is why is it important? On the longer picture, why is this important?
Previous all-time high.
It's
Previous
all-time
all-time
high
high,
previously.
So this means that this area right here that you have is what? The breakout was not accepted, right? That means that you're gonna search for buyers lower. So if they're gonna search for buyers lower, you know, this might not be the pullback, the end of it, right? Pretty sure we can see this 7-11, right? I wouldn't be surprised if we see October value area low. If you guys remember Sunday or whenever we talked during the class, we talked about it. If you're not able to hold that 12 and you lose it, I say that you're most likely gonna put in a new low compared to October value area low. Because this bounce here was pretty weird. There was no access on here on this day, right? Does this warrant a major bounce like we did? Do you see a lot of people stepping in here? No, like there's not a lot of access. We didn't find the demand there. So I would think that we're gonna go lower. Okay. So I would target, you know, somewhere 7-11 this POC, and then below that, right? You have a little bit of LVN that you can, you know, peel some off if you're short. And then ultimately I think you can go kind of towards the September value area low. I wouldn't be surprised if we visit this level and you see that there's really not much in there. You know, there's not a lot of value, so I'm pretty certain. What are we gonna do here? Fill it up. We're gonna make sure that this is filled out. Makes sense on daily?
Shorty, you said if we reject the bottom distribution toward the upside, you target the top one. How come not the second one in the middle?
That's why I said that. I said the single prints where this points, right? Here. I wouldn't think you're gonna target the top when you have a major level at 12 as a prior all-time high, right? So this is the level I would target. If you're able to reclaim this, you target this.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Mhm. So here's our weeklies, right? And you see that we've spent some serious time here, right? I'm just gonna minimize this a little bit. Okay, so now when you look at the weeklies, right? Here's your weekly profile. I'll hide the daily for a moment. And candles. So here's your weekly profiles. I mean, you just pay attention. Where do we accumulate the most, right? It's here. And you see the volume here. So they're telling you we traded a lot here. And if you're rejecting where you traded, let's say we lose this area right here, you know, that means that there's not a lot of interest. This is going to happen fast, right? Just like this happened pretty quick too. I would not be surprised if we test this balance right here. Because this was a pretty good balance, right? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks here. Then you pop, then you accumulate, I think it was 5, maybe 6. And then you popped higher, you tried to go higher, you failed. Now you're back inside this balance. If you go to the bottom like you did last time and you lose this, you're gonna slice this. This is gonna be quick. And then on the bigger picture, like if you just zoom out a little bit and hide all of this stuff. Just grab the lows to the highs and kind of see where we are, right? With the volume like this, clearly. Do you guys see why I say that this flush is gonna be quick? And this LVM is one that I would keep an eye on right here. What is this LVM separating?
That double distribution. Huge distribution.
Yeah, it's massive. Separating this and the bottom. So if we lose this level, then you're most likely gonna be heading to about 6,200, which would be pretty decent pullback, right? So if you think about the highs, let's say to here, that's a decent pullback, right? That's 10%, and then the prior all-time highs was somewhere around here. So I could see this honestly happening pretty quickly, and then there was some congestion in this area, because if I was to do something like this, you'll see how big this POC is right here. Yeah, there it is. Like this is massive POC at 6,000. I would expect buyers to show up here. If I was to look for longs and look for stocks to add massive amounts of something, I would potentially look at it here, and from here look for the Santa rally to do something like this, maybe up to here. This would be what I play longer term. As we come here, we can target some maybe December monthly calls, something. And you can calculate that, right, using SPY. Yep. And they're like, no, we don't want you to do that.
So typically in the middle of a double distribution, you usually get like rejection or you get quickly go. I'm not sure how they behave it.
Typically, LVNs are used as protection in a trend, right? If you're trending up and you leave an imbalance, that means where you're going to have single prints, right? So if you have something like this, let's say you're consolidating, you're doing this, and then slowly, and then you have this, that means you're going to have some kind of single prints like right here, right? And as the price does something like this, maybe they come back right here, and that's how you got the single prints created. So when they go away from it and they come back, this is a pretty good long. But when you lose it, right, this becomes a flip. Right now that was support, comes resistance, and if this is the bottom, then they crack it here, they will leave single prints again in the downtrend now, and then you use that as a resistance right here. If this is single prints here. That makes sense.
Is that only favorable when it goes through quickly, like a big sweep like of the level, or even if it slow burns through it?
Well, you really want aggression to come through it, right? When it's kind of going slowly, and the orders are not really aggressive, typically they reclaim those, right? But it also depends, is this single print that we were talking about here, let's say that we traded it and we pop and we just continued, and this is a first time that you're retesting here, that's a not very good long on the first time. But if you do then lower highs, right, and then you're doing this and then another lower high, and then you sweep this like right here, and then you reclaim it, but you're still making lower highs, that's problematic, right? That's not something you want to see. And if you pay attention to this stuff, so if you pay attention to kind of what happened here, you see what happened here. So you went above it, right? You came back here, you tried to bounce, you lost it, and then of course we had these massive gaps, and we were not really able to go, clean up all the mess that we had here. If you guys remember, this 87 was really the short level, and I explained it why. If you guys remember right here, this was that HVN where we sold off from. Remember, we sold off from here. First revisit here, they caught a bounce, right? Then they dipped below it. Now, you know, you asked, or maybe it wasn't you, like, do you want to see aggressive candles going through, or you want to see, you know, just a slow candle coming down here? Well, last time when we came here, we had a pretty aggressive candle, volume picked up a little bit. Now, you know, you tried to go above it, and look how they broke it this time. They picked up volume again, and it's a pretty massive candle.
Yeah.
So, and any retest of this 12 will be a decent short.
Is there a way to know? Like sometimes I get confused with that as to like how much aggression is the right like the special sauce of aggression, or what's too weak? Is there a right way to know like a certain amount of volume, how long the candle is?
Well,
What's the
I pay attention to relative size of the candle. So if you look at 5 minutes, for instance, here today, you know, you open here at 9:30, right? Look at the volume. Typically 9:30 open, you're going to be above the volume, you know, above the average, the blue line here. You can change this like MA, right? And you can do whatever you want in terms of the charts, right? You can do something like this. But you see the average, right? And now when you're selling below these key levels, what are you noticing about volume here? So if you look at this candle that dipped us below 12, what do you notice about volume?
It's pretty large.
Oh, it's picking up, right? So just pick the wrong one. So it picked up, and then, you know, what I pay attention to when I'm looking intraday is like something like this. On push-ups, what happens, right? So here they really tried to bounce it, right? They really did their best to kind of try to get it up, and then they failed, and you see the lower highs, and then look at the volume on this one. This candle, they're like, well, we're gonna try to crack this and make lower lows, right? They swept it and they recovered, but they still didn't make, you know, I would say they still didn't clean this high right here. Right? They're
So
still
if
making lower highs.
if they would have hypothetically made a higher high there, if you were
Oh, yeah.
short, you'd want to take your profit because you're like, yeah, now this is too sketchy.
Exactly. Yeah. That means here you have equal highs. Here you broke the, you know, C period cracks. Then you have another area here and you have a lower high, right? If we would have done this, what is the market telling you now?
We're done selling.
Well, we're done selling, but what changed?
Acceptance.
Break a
Break a
structure.
structure.
Careful.
No.
If they would have broken
Change of
this,
character.
this would be change of character here because our character has been here. We have, I call this equal highs. Then here, you know, this was your low. So this is low. And then you put in the lower low, right? So you have a lower low now. You have a lower highs right now building here, and then you have a consolidation, but it's still lower highs. And then you put in new lower lows, right? If you think about this, if this is the low, you're putting a new low, and here's a lower high as well. Then you put in a higher high here, but you know, when I look at candles, you have to sometimes think logically, is this the candle that I need for change of character, or would it be this one?
That one. That one's the largest.
It was a pretty wide, you know, wide body candle, and it happens to be a really uptick in volume. So I call these in my language master candle, right? So this is a candle that's going to control. If I was able to reclaim this, I would say you're changing character, right? And most likely we're going to go higher. A break of structure would be if we went here, right? This is actually a clear break of structure. This is just you're continuing the lower and you're breaking the structure. So now this is just a break of structure here. You're continuing and you're putting in a new lower low, right? This was a low. Here's a new lower low being set up right here. Does that make sense? So now this is another break of structure. So if they wanted to do a reversal here, where would be the change of character?
Mm,
Would this
at the
be?
end, no? At the very
Yeah.
end.
Your line in the middle.
Yeah, so this would be your change of character. Would it be ideal that you go along here?
No,
I say you want to be careful. And why is that?
because it's the end of the day.
Well, let's say it's not the end of the day. I mean, think about this. You're playing in this area where you have the vertical structure of lower lows and a change of character here. You know, you're playing with fire. Because they're going to try to get in. If you treat this as a zone here, if this is a zone of value, because it is, and I know that because there's single prints being divided in between, that means that there is value here and they rejected this value lower. So they rejected this value lower, they rejected this value lower. What is value doing?
Shifting.
Value shifting lower. So if break this change of character, does that mean they got accepted to the previous value?
It could be a trap, right?
Well, my question is, should I trust this level here to go along? Well, not really. I would, if they can change this character here, right? If they can change this and go something like this,
Mhm.
then I would be a little bit more comfortable in the long. Then the probability is in your favor. If I go along here, yeah, then you got to knock on the
Like
doors
you're-
on the bottom here, and I don't know.
Go,
Especially
going
when you
along there is like front running. Is that would be considered front running it?
exactly, you might be in danger because if they reject you, you're screwed.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
And your reward is minimal, right? You're playing, minimal points, right? So you'll be playing something like this, 7 points. Yeah. That means your stop loss is what? 2 points? You can't make a living in that.
I got one last question for this. Do you see that small little doji candle that's around 115 or something like that? Would that be considered a good re-entry in this break of structure to get
This
it in
one or
short?
this one?
That little one, yeah. Would that be the good re-entry?
Yeah, I think so, right? Because you have a full body candle kind of bearish engulfing, and this one here was great too. And then I would say this here was also a good entry
Okay.
right here. And if you look, you might say, well, it's easy now. Well, let's just split it and see what the market was telling you. So think about this. This is where your H, right, came in and said, hey, we want the value lower. They disagreed on the value. They sent it single prints, right? So you really, so from H, you don't know much. But if you just look above, right, we're clearly shifting value lower. And if they come back anywhere close to this level, right, I would say that's probably not a bad short as you come up here. And how could you find, just if I give you from letter H, how would you know where it's short?
Half the candle.
Half the candle. Let's check. All right. So let's just check what happens when you find.
Well, I meant the move. I guess I did see the candle, but I meant the move.
Right, so let's do 50%. Ooh, what do you know?
Dope.
Pretty good. So
I
you're
don't know why I
coming
think
right
it's
to it.
the win.
If they would have reclaimed this, which we said it was a change of character, and then they got inside of this, what would the MGI be telling you?
Seller exhaustion.
No, seller exhaustion. I mean, you would potentially hear, but you don't know that, right? Let's say you didn't have this. You only had H to K. You wouldn't know that a seller exhaustion happened here.
Change of character.
Change of character would have happened here, yes. That would have been excellent if they're able to crack that. But if they're coming in right here at the 50% of H, when you're closing below 50% of a period and a trend down, what is that telling you?
Not sure.
You got the first piece right. It was 50%. You measure the period.
Not
If you can
didn't find
close,
acceptance.
well, it means that framing down on the periods is stopping. If you can crack the 50% of it, that means there's a chance that they're probably going to test the high of that period as well.
Is this like a fib play where it's like you don't want to pass 50%? You want to join
Yeah,
the
it
golden
just-
bucket?
Yeah, it's just a framing down concept of the periods. If you go below the 50, above the 50%, there's a very high chance you're going to stop the framing down. Because here you're framing down, right? C period started framing down, D period's framing down, E period's framing down. The G period here gave you some clues, right? Does everybody know what the clues were?
Engulfing
An
candle?
outside bar.
No, it's an outside bar. The G period made higher high and lower low on a trend down day, right? So
Is that
if you're,
relative to the previous period?
that's correct, relative to F. So now if you look, if the G period made higher high and lower low, and then H period is breaking that, what does the rule say that we talk about when you have an outside period? Go with it. Follow it. And you follow it, right? And even if you don't know, let's say you're like, man, I have no idea. Shorty, how do I get this level? Well, I would just say, what could you do to find this level here? You have nothing else. You're like, man, I have no idea. But you know that this is the H period here that cracks. And you're like, man, if I take this short, where do I target it? Well, just learn fibs, and I promise you can make decent amount of money. So let's say this is where, this is the low and this is the high. And then just apply the extensions, and here's some targets for you guys. So you'll be able to target this one right here, right, which was 65 and then 42.
Sorry, how'd you get the low and the high?
So just the swing high from here to here.
Oh, okay, got it.
So swing high to here. So I'm interested to replicate the symmetry between A and B. And then, if you wanted to know where is this move, if you're to replicate it, basically, let's say I want to replicate it from here to here. I mean, it's easy. I could find, let's look for -1. The 100%, 200, I'm sorry. So if I wanted to replicate this, that's what fibs do, right? If I wanted to replicate this move from here, that move would be replicated and it would be equal to up here. Does that make sense? From here to here, that's the same move.
Yeah.
But typically, in Fibonacci's, right, you're looking for that golden ratio 1618. You're looking first target, second target, and you guys probably noticed that I only have 2 targets on fibs. And this one and that one. I don't use anything else.
Because third target's too rare.
Well, just because of the Fibonacci sequence and ratios, right? This is your golden fib. If you guys don't know much about fibs, we can do a class, it'd be a 30-minute class on fibs and the meaning behind the 1618. Your whole body is actually proportional to 1618. If you guys didn't know that.
Interesting.
Nope.
Yeah. Your arm is 1618. Your whole arm.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hey, Shorty, for measuring the 50% of a period, so would you typically do that when you have that outside period and then?
No, just trend days. And if you want to see if it's going to stop, you want to see if they're going to reclaim it.
Okay, so you can do that on any period typically?
So here's your arm. If this is your 1, this is 1618. And it repeats a lot. I don't know if you guys are into this stuff. It's pretty nerdy stuff, but your whole body functions the same, right? You're like, what?
Movies on it.
Here's your hand. It works pretty good.
So does the fib play or the 50% play only work well for trend days?
When you're trending down on periods, you want to know the reason why I use 50% is to know if you're going to stop the trend day and reverse it. Fibs extensions are used for targets. When it's between 0 and 100 on a fib, you're looking for retracements, right? So if I wanted to know, right, so let's hide this for a second. So if you think about moves, right, so I would say between here and here is a move. Do you guys agree? That's like one swing high, swing low, swing high.
Yeah.
Right. So if I want to know if I want to know if this is to pull back, I can use you grab from swing low, you grab swing high. I just have templates, right, where I have retracements like 50, 61, 8. If you bounce at 38, 2, that's a big deal. Why is that a big deal?
It's a lot of buyers, a lot more buyers.
There's not a lot more buyers. It just means the trend is very strong because you're bouncing at a really small retracement.
Oh, okay,
Right.
okay.
Because you're coming to a small retracement. If this is a 100% move that we're watching, you're bouncing right at the quick retrace of that move. The deeper you go in, right, the deeper the buyers are sitting, like, right, the lower value, you're searching for buyers longer, longer, longer.
Oh, okay, okay.
Where's the next fib that I could use?
50%. And then
Is there any other?
golden pocket.
Yeah, but from the trend standpoint, let's look at the daily, for instance. Yeah, on the daily, right? Would this be a swing low and swing high?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. So if I go here, this is a pretty good fib to have. And it happens to be the last resort, we found some buyers perfectly. And then it happens to be what?
Damn, I could have made a lot of money with that.
And this level here, if you guys remember, a quarter above was a spike on Friday, right? And you have this 50%, right? And I've also posted that was my final target for today. So you had some confluences to bounce here and here, right? So they held that level pretty well. And now, if you think about the opposite, could you do some fibs on the opposite side? Yeah, certainly, right? So you could look at 30 minutes, right? So take a look here. You could have grabbed this high to this low and see where's the kind of retracement. And we looked at it last night, if you guys remember. And you see that they rejected it initially at 70, the same way when we bounced right here, or wherever that level was. We bounced in 70 here, they went above, and then they rejected it, and then you see the retracements.
Trading like this mostly means you're trading extremes, no?
No, well, not really. No, you're kind of trading retracements, right? And if you look at this swing high and swing low, so here's your low, here's your high, and this is your retracements where you can expect support. Take a look where they bounced. So on a longer trend, that was the 50%. You guys agreed from moments ago?
Yep.
When we looked at the daily, right? You guys said that I can grab it from low to high. What's happening here? guys recall what's that called? When you have key fibs aligning together?
I don't know what it's called.
Is it a conspiracy?
No. It's called a fib cluster. Guys, remember that? No? We'll do a fib class.
What does it mean? Oh, okay, cool.
So fib clusters means that you have multiple fibs, key fibs being aligned. So when you run fib clusters, what I can do here, for instance, right now, I'll give you a fib cluster quick lesson. So I know this is a swing high and swing low. So what you can do is you can adjust your points where you're grabbing them. One stays the same and you're adjusting the rest, right? So we know this is our high and low, right?
Right.
So could I not grab it off of this high now here? I could grab it off of this high right now, right here, and see where's the congestion on the fibs. So you have overlap on the fibs. They're really close right here. They really happen to be close right here. And then let's just say we extend this line left. Extend this fellow left. Let's just take a look at the price. See how it works. Rejection, treat it as support. So you see it here as support. So I'm looking for fib clusters to find it. And you can do this many ways, right? I could do support cluster, not that I have good points, but I could do a clusters in between here, maybe on 15 minutes or something like that. Right, so I could find, this is my low. I'm looking for this one. I'm looking for this one. I'm looking from the low to this one, and I think that'll be it. And where's the cluster?
Right where it bounced off.
Right where it bounced.
Yep. And where's the next cluster?
Also right where it bounced before it went up.
It bounces off of clusters a lot of times, right?
So
Okay,
is
so
that just
combining this
another?
with,
Yeah, go ahead.
you got it.
No, you're good.
So never mind, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Good. So is this a way
You can
that
combine this with what you're doing, right? You can combine this with volume. Fibonacci's are pretty powerful. I use them a lot.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So combining this with volume profile levels would be pretty powerful.
Becomes very powerful because you get more confluence levels, right? Our job as traders to look for probabilities and confluence. And I mean, I think this is pretty important, right? So here's the high, here's the low. Maybe I didn't do something here, right? I did. So here's that one, and now you're able to see, at least where the key ones are. So the odds are, if you go here, 6697, could expect some bouncing zone here in between. Then I could also grab a smaller one and see, right? So this area, like we showed earlier, pretty good chance it's going to bounce here somewhere. Yeah, we can do a class on fibs. There's a lot of fibs, right? What I'm doing is retracements and extensions, right? There's ABC, right? So if you guys go here, trend-based fib extensions, right? So this one here is slightly different. It's 3 points instead of 2 points. So let's say I want to know from here to here and a first pullback to get the targets, right? I would use, if I go here, I would select fib retracements is meant to be between 0 and 100. This one's supposed to be for extensions, but being lazy, you just set up fib retracements to do the same like this one. It's only 2 points. So if I go here and I come back to this one, I can have my targets defined right here, and these are somewhat, let me make sure that these are these. Okay. Let's just change these. So this would be kind of like your levels based off of this right now, and what you can target 0.786 of this move based from here is right here. 100%. What this is telling you, I'm just trying to kind of teach you what you're looking at. This is the move you're trying to replicate from this starting point. So this move replicated, let's see if I can do this, from here to here, right, is right here at 1. So just imagine if I was deadly accurate. Or maybe I can do something else to show you. Flip it because my brain won't work that way. So if I want to replicate this move of, let's call it 6%. Right. See why it's 100% here. This move here is replicated from this point 100% to here. If this move is to get 127%, where would that be? That means, Shorty, you're missing a fib. I need to add 127. So 127% of this move would be here. 161 and 0.8% of this move starting here would be here. So if I was to measure, let's say, what was this? I'm just going to do 2 of them so you guys can follow along. Did I lose you guys?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So let's say this is 385 points. So if I want to take 161% of 385, how would I do it? I don't know the fibs.
Multiply, no?
Yeah, just take it, right? Does that make sense? So if I go here
Yeah.
and I do whatever I did here, what did I say? 622, just close enough for government's work. I probably didn't tag it somewhere, but you guys get it. I just took this 385 and I multiplied it by 161.8%, and now that becomes a target, and that's the golden ratio. And the only 2 targets I use is here and here. If you're running really extremes, I'd like to use standard deviations, right? So you could definitely do that. And this is called, trend-based fibs, right? 3 points. You find the move that you want to replicate, and then on the first pullback, you replicate it from there. Hopefully that makes sense.
So if the pullback was more aggressive, it will be
Yeah.
a shorter.
This was a pretty, aggressive bounce here. I would say this was probably, if I was to measure this one, you see this one was like a 382 or maybe even more. You see how first one here, well, that one that wouldn't count. So here came in, here they bounced off of the 382. So it's pretty aggressive. That's a strong trend when they do that. But that's not all, right? There's a lot more fibs that you guys can do, right? So there's fib time zones, right? When people try to time it, right? If I want to replicate this move here in time, can I do that? Yeah, some people use it, right? Not a big.
Ooh.
You can be like, okay, well, if I know this move took long between, let's say, I'm gonna delete it so you guys can. Let's find a good one. All right, let's take it not like this one here, long, yes. I'm like, I know this move. This move from here to here took this much time. That I can expect things to start happening on every other one that comes up here. And boy, does it start happen, right? I can see that it starts to happen here. This one here is okay, right? It wasn't like clean, but you have this one happening, and then you can of course enable this more, right? And then you'll see that these are slightly different numbers, right? Do you guys know why these numbers are different than fibs?
No.
No.
Fibonacci sequence.
It's Fibonacci sequence, not the ratio. Because 1 plus 2 is equal to 3.
Okay.
3 plus 5 is equal to 8. 8 plus 3 is 21. 21 plus this, 55, and so on. That's how you get ratios, right? You start dividing them and you get ratios. So there's a lot of fibs that you can utilize, right? And some people get better. There's fib circles, right? I can do this.
Oh, that looks crazy. That looks crazy.
Oh,
Yeah,
there's
these are
people.
wow. It's like a jawbreaker.
Yeah, I mean, there's people, believe it or not, that are accurate with this. There's a lady called Linda. She's a really good trader. She actually is probably the best trader with the fibs. She does a really good job of this, and like you'll see here, like you can.
I don't even know what I'm looking at.
Oh, this is just Fibonacci's based on different calculations, and it tells you this. And you have channels, right? Channels are good. I've used channels before, right? Fib channels, these are good. Let's see. Just find a different one. So maybe something smaller so we can see it.
I'm still thinking about the time zone thing you said, because wouldn't that in a way help when you see like breakouts or whatever that are imminent to come when you do your stock watch list, give you an idea of when to get your calls roughly? Obviously, there's variables, news or whatever, but generally speaking, wouldn't that help in that sense? That way, you get something with enough time.
Definitely do that, right? Wouldn't disagree with you. And here, again, I can do 1618. I can do my 127. And you can also do negative, right? If I want to see the bottom ones, right here, right? -5 in between. So hopefully you guys get the point. But these are actually pretty good. So now if you take a look, I'll just enable. So here's my fib for 127 of this channel. And just pay attention to how well, yes, it does, right? So 127, they're not able to crack. They cracked, they came to 1618, they dipped, they bounced here. Then they lost this channel, they came back and they traded to the bottom channel. Crack this, go to the top channel. And these are all, I would say, tools that you can use, right? And sometimes you have to create your own. I don't know if anyone has ever used linear regression channels, but these are excellent. Right, these are pretty good. So let's go on weeklies. You can adjust this a little bit.
So basically, there's like more than one way to skin a cat. This is what you're showing. Like there's just
I
so
mean,
many ways to do this.
you can learn, whatever you're comfortable with. What I teach and I, rely on is a lot of, I would say, current market data, which is your market profile, which is your volume profile. Those are your current, visuals of what the market's doing. All the other stuff like here, when you combine, and you don't want to add everything to it because then it's just gonna,
Yeah.
you're gonna
Information overload.
paralysis. You're not gonna have data. You're just gonna have information, right? Not insights. And then it becomes very difficult, right? So this is the one fib that I was going after for some time, right? If you guys remember, this is the one I was kind of going for. This is the one I was hoping that we tap and we came, I would say, relatively close to it. As this was my final target, was 6984. And they're pretty close to it. So let's see, right? And obviously we haven't really had much red months here, so let's see. I still think we're gonna have a rally and maybe Q4, but let's see.
Would a target have to be hit to the T to actually be considered successful, or is there like a
Yeah.
variance?
I mean, think about it. I'm replicating a period of February to April of between the years, a year, and you missed it by 24 points. I'm not gonna argue about it.
It could just be an anomaly then.
Yeah. Well, yeah. See, if it hits perfectly, it just boosts your confidence. But look at the 127 before the price went up to a penny, right?
Yeah.
And it's not a level that you had anywhere. It's just based on the fibs. So is this over? Probably not. I think we're gonna bounce somewhere. And if you just grab, from bottom to top here, you're sitting here still, say there's a strong chance they could bounce here as well. So, and you see
But
this
before the
LBM.
end of the year?
I would think they're gonna want some Wall Street bonuses to be paid out this year.
Ah,
So by that you mean new all-time highs?
Yeah, I think they can do that, right? And remember, it just takes one tweet. So as they start struggling, you'll see more tweets. Keep an eye on those checks that are coming out that Trump's gonna send and all that stuff. The sentiment has to increase in people, and what a better way to increase the sentiment? If you know your Christmas season and shopping is gonna be so bad, how do you increase it?
Give the people money to spend.
Give people money to spend and say their statistical systems are down. Pretty good combo. At least I think that's a really good combo. Then,
I
when
agree.
people start buying stuff, right, and demand is high for something, what happens to price?
Goes up.
Falls down.
Well, demand increases the price, right? If you're all competing for a product, price is going to go up. And your statistical system is down and people are fighting over something, I mean, price goes up. What happens to inflation?
Goes up.
Goes up. So I think it's a pretty good plan. Makes sense.
Is it just me, or since it broke out, and I may be using the wrong terminologies because I'm still getting this, down, digesting everything, but since we broke out of that balance that we used to have like a little bit ago, but from the previous all-time high, this has been much more complicated to trade.
This
This
is
has been
pretty
so
complex. Yeah, this has been pretty complex. And the only reason it's been very complex is that you had to know when to take profits. If you guys remember, when we shorted this, I closed my puts and I was screaming, I'm out of puts, right? And then they climbed up, and then I entered more puts here somewhere, and then I'm not closed all on SPY puts, but I trimmed some SPY puts. So now, if they come more here, I'll trim some. If they're super nice and I can get this, I'll be deep in the money. Then I can close them out and look for opportunities to flip. You just have to be more diligent about taking profits when you're seeing shit like this. Like the guy that I'm kind of teasing on with JD, right? You can hate volume profile and people. I've seen some posts that are funny. You're coming to a 3-year value area high and you're adding calls here. Well, God be in your favor, because the odds are not in your favor. You need God at this point, because you're coming here twice. You're coming here and you're buying, I don't know, 5,000 calls right here. It's the dumbest thing you could do.
and that's an LVN above it, no?
I mean, you just don't buy calls at value area high. period.
Even if you
Right.
broke above and retested.
Well, if now you're asking me a different question. All right, if you broke above this, right? Let's say, sure, if you broke above this right here, because remember, there's this little guy that's sitting here. I wouldn't ignore it.
That's the LVN, right?
That's an LVN, right? So if you crack that, then yeah, then I would go. I'd be like, okay, well, you guys are rejecting this value. Until then, now he's, he needs to pray. Let's say tomorrow this is lost. I'll buy his January calls and I'll make 100% on those calls right here. As he closes them, I'll buy. So they will go here. Then you can buy like March. Let's say you buy March 37s, you'll make 100%. Like, I don't know. Hopefully none of you guys bought my Intel calls. But
The ones you bought back for $5.
I didn't buy. I want to buy for like cheaper than I didn't close them.
Oh, okay.
But I sold a bunch of calls here for Intel, right? For this week, Friday. For tomorrow, 40. So now, if you think about it, think about odds. You're at 35.91. You close right here. For me to lose money on these and to get assigned, you see the move that Intel has to make tomorrow?
Ain't no way.
The odds are pretty safe that I'm gonna basically just buy them for maybe $2, all of them. I sold them to somebody for $60 and I'll buy the total of them for $2. Pretty good ratio. And that's how you also learn how to hedge yourself, right? For instance, that fella was up on JD. I don't know where he got in on him, track it, but he was up like $300,000 at some point. And if you knew that he's coming up like a major value area high, if he would have just sold, he had 40 strike here. You get it? This was 40 strike. If he sold, let's say he sold 42, I don't know what increments they're in. If he sold double of the calls at 42, oof, he would have made much more money than he could have with the calls here. I would have tripled it. I would have created a 3-to-1. But you can tell if somebody knows what they're doing by I guess what they show here.
Yeah, that's just gambling.
Well, it's gambling because he seems to have unlimited amount of money that he collects somewhere. Maybe his $9.99 subscriptions of 700,000 followers. So it doesn't hurt to lose $300,000. If it did, you would have taken props. $300,000 is somebody's, I wouldn't say salary. I don't know what average salary is now, but it's not $300,000.
It's life-changing money for a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. And that's greed, stupidness, and him trying to show off, right? But you have to learn from people like that, not to do stupid shit like that.
Shorty, question. You think you're gonna be live tomorrow, or
Yeah,
you won't be able
I'll
to?
be live. Yeah, no, I'll be live. I just didn't know that they're actually not even releasing news.
Awesome.
I finished trading before open, so I was in, and I actually slept more after that because I woke up at 4. And I'll tell you what, I had Taco Bell for dinner because my kids wanted Taco Bell and don't have Taco Bell for dinner once you get older. It's not good for you.
Or your toilet.
Or your toilet. You should definitely do it before you do colonoscopy. That's all I'll say.
Well, thank you for
I guess.
everything. Appreciate
Hopefully,
it.
guys had a good lesson. I'll
Thank
see you
you.
guys tomorrow. Once
For
I'm
sure.
home. Bye bye.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night.